In this video, I'm going to show you how I made this Damascus Steel and walnut burl Bentwood ring. This is made with a stainless Damascus Steel from Damasteel lab. I believe the pattern is called Heimskringla, and it is actually as dense as a black hole. I also used a beautiful piece of walnut burl to make this ring, and I must say it is probably one of my favourite projects to have made of all time. So without further ado, let's make some shavings. The first task was to mount the chunk of steel in the chuck jaws and gradually drill a hole through it. Damasteel is dense and this process takes ages. The trick here seems to be to take your time, use progressively larger drill bits and use plenty of lubrication. Alrighty, so that is actually the hardest part of the process done, I believe. It's starting to look a lot more ring shapes now, but I'm not sure if I could get away with selling that as part of my rustic range. So next up, I'm going to mount this onto a metal ring mandrel, shape the outside, and generally clean up those faces. Begin! I used a cutting bit to shape the outside of the ring, just taking lots of light passes and cleaning off any curly shavings as I went. When the outside diameter of the ring was sorted, I mounted it into the chuck jaws to shave down the edges. When the ring was 8mm wide, I used another cutting tool to taper the inside edges. The final step of shaping the steel was to cut an inlay groove in the ring. I marked out where I needed to cut the groove and used a sharp tool to rough away some of the material. I then used a parting or grooving tool to square up the edges of the inlay channel. Oh yeah, that is much more ring shaped and it's really coming along now. Okay, so now that I've got this made, the inlay channel is all nice and cut, edges are tapered. All that's left to do is to inlay some wood. Yes. I used a craft knife to cut a 5mm slice of walnut veneer and sanded down one end of the piece of the wood until it was as thin as paper. I checked to see if the walnut would fit into the inlay groove of the metal ring, and thankfully it did, so I test wrapped it in and cut off any excess until I made one full wrap around the ring. Next, I gradually glued the piece of wood into the metal ring using superglue. I used a cocktail stick to dab a little bit of glue in, then pressed the wood down firmly with the tweezers until the glue cured. When the wood was all glued in, I took a few thin strips of sandpaper and sanded the inlay until it was smooth and seamless. So that was fiddly, but the wood is in now, so there's my beautiful walnut burl inlay in the ring black. So now it's time to finish him. I applied thin layers of glue using a cocktail stick until I had completely covered the wood and filled the remaining space in the inlay channel. This took a while, and to stop the glue from blooming or bubbling or curing all nasty, I sprayed a light misting of activator spray between coats. Okay, don't judge it too harshly yet, it looks pretty rough, but what I've done is I've just scraped off a bit of the excess glue from the edges with just a sharp craft knife. I've polished up the inside through a couple of grits of sandpaper, from say a 120 working up to a 1200 grit. So it's just a bit rough, and then the outside is not polished yet. So let's get this back on the lathe and polish up the outside. To polish the outside of the ring, I used progressively finer grits of sandpaper, working from 400 grit right through to a 12,000 grit micro mesh. This made the finish over the wood shiny, even and smooth, as well as bringing out a nice shine on the metal edges. Then I worked over the metal parts of the ring with my rotary tool, using red and green polishing compounds to bring it to a mirror-like shine. When the ring was stupidly shiny and smooth, I cleaned it off and lowered it into a ferric chloride acid bath to etch it. I left it in for around 30 minutes and then neutralized the acid by dunking it into a baking soda solution. Okay, so there's the ring after etching. You can see that it's kind of a little bit discolored, but that's okay. You can see where the patterns come out. And that's the most exciting bit with Damascus Steel, is you're kind of working blind right up until you get that etch. Then you can see all the patterns emerge. It's really cool. So I'm just going to polish this up, and then we'll take some nice photos. I whipped the polishing compounds over the ring one last time, and then the ring was complete. And that is how I make a Damascus steel ring with a wood inlay. If you liked watching this process, then do me a solid and leave a like and a comment. If you'd like to see more of my work, then have a browse at my other videos or visit my Etsy shop. You know the drill, subscribe and I'll keep them coming.